If you work like you're broke, you'll never be broke. See,
Yeah.
some of these agents will have a great sale, have a great week, and then they're taking off the next day. I don't do that, bro. I
Yeah.
mean, I've gotten as much as $100,000 deposit in one day, and I'm still bright and early at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, I hit you up at any time. You know that. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm hitting you up because I act like that money's not even there.
Welcome to another episode of the More Than an Agent podcast, where we interview agents that are impacting community, culture, and industry. I'm T. Priester, your host, and today I'm joined by Dr. Lewis Burns. Dr. Burns, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, T. What about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We talked a little bit, behind the scenes, been doing a little bit of traveling here recently. I was up in DC last week. I've been based in Atlanta since '06, but had to go up to DC last week to take care of some business. And Dr. Burns, I have not experienced that type of cold in a minute. I'm officially a Southerner. Atlanta
Exactly.
gets cold for about a month. And then, it's back to warm weather. But I think one night I was up there, it was 24 degrees. And with the wind chill factor, they said it felt like 15, and I was not prepared.
Wow.
You know,
Did
other
you
than
did
that,
you get the sniffles? Did you get the sniffles when you came back?
yeah, that's why I'm congested right now, trying to get over it, and I got to fly back out there in a few days again. But I'll be better prepared this time.
Amen.
I'll bring a heavy coat and a scarf and some other stuff. So,
There you
you
go.
know, it is what it is. But thank you for joining me today. We've been trying to get this together, for a minute. So thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. We've been talking off and on. We met face to face for the first time, I think, a little over a month ago. We were
Yep.
able to go out, have some dinner, have
That
conversation.
food was good. That food was very good.
Nice spot here in Atlanta. Absolutely, absolutely. Had a great conversation. We're able to connect on some things and put this into motion. Since then, you've been making the podcast rounds. I see you everywhere. On the podcast talking to people. Do you enjoy being interviewed and doing podcasts?
I don't know if it's enjoyment. It's something that I've been doing for a while, just here locally.
Yeah.
I was a radio. I was on the radio. Been on radio for 15 years.
Okay.
So just out here talking to people about what I do. How can you make money? Been doing that for 15 years. So been in business now for 28 years.
Okay.
So had an insurance license for 33 years. So just been around this for a long time. I don't know if I enjoy it or I like giving out information. Just being honest with people. That's what I like doing.
No, no, I feel you. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I hate podcasts. I hate public speaking, and it's strange because people are like, "Well, you sell." When you do it for a living, when you don't
There you
have to
go.
do it, you don't want to do it. It's kind of like the chef that cooks in a restaurant all day and doesn't want to come home and cook, right?
Right.
I
Right.
enjoy more of the one-on-one, the mentoring. I think that's why I'm good at sales, because the one-on-one interaction is kind of where I shine. Um,
Right.
I've started this. Me and our co-founder Shay started a podcast a little over 2 years ago, and one of the things that it helped me do is kind of get out of my comfort zone. So I definitely feel you. But like I said, I've been seeing you do the rounds. We got a lot to get into today, so again, I want to thank you. But going to some of the interviews I've been seeing here recently, a lot of people are very interested on what happened with you with the last carrier you're with. And you and I had a conversation. We're going to get into a lot more than
Right.
just that situation, right? That's only a small part of your story. But, I do want to open the floor. I know you got some legal stuff going on. I know you've been talking, about this for the last few months and may be exhausted, but I at least wanted to give you an opportunity that if you wanted to share something with our audience who may not be privy to what's going on. I just wanted to kind of give you the floor to, just open up, talk about what you want to talk about in regards to that situation, as much or as little as you want.
Sure. Sure. I don't mind mentioning names. I was with the company called Senior Life Insurance Company out of Thomasville, Georgia. Signed my contract in 2014. Had a very, very successful run there, T. became one of their largest agencies in America. Before we parted ways, we had already done over $15 million in business, all organically grown, mostly field sales. And, about 6 months ago, things kind of change. Sometimes things change. Not sometimes, a lot of times things change.
Yeah.
And so, started seeing a different tone with them. Started making a lot of money, T. I mean, more money than I've ever made. I mean, we'll talk numbers, but I started making $250,000 a month. And I think, in my humble opinion, I became more of a burden I became more of a debt than an asset.
Right.
And, you know, tried to put a little bit more pressure on me, wanted me to do things their way, wanted me to adhere to what they were doing. And T, the way I run my practice is that I run a system that I created and I stick to my system. And so, we started button heads. So it all came to, I guess, a head on, October 4th. Nothing happened exceptionally. I got an email around 6:30 p.m. Basically telling me that my services would no longer be needed. But there were a lot of things between June and October 4th. Might have said 6th, well, October 4th. A lot of things happened in between there. And, I'll go ahead and tell you, T, when you start making 250 a month, some people just don't like that. You understand that? It makes them
Sure.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it makes them uncomfortable. And
Right.
then I'm running my own system. I'm adhering to what I think are the best business practices. You know, there was some lead dumping that happened there that, they dumped leads on a lot of my agents. I went crazy over that. There was a reduction in contract for no reason. But just little things like that. I think, T, in my humble opinion, they were trying to run me off.
Right.
That's what I think. I think, in my humble opinion, I'd
Yeah.
gotten too big. There was too much money involved, and they needed to change that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a guest last month, Dr. Constance. We got a theme here, doctors on the podcast here. Last two. And one of the things that we talked about is transition.
Mm,
Transition can be tough for some people, especially if they're in a situation where they're seeing some success,
yep,
right?
yep,
So here you are, you're seeing success, making over 250 a month, and we're going to talk about how big you grew your downline and stuff here in a minute. But now you're starting to see some things that don't line up with where you're trying to go long term.
correct,
So there's two things that can happen here. Dr. Burns can say, "Well, man, I'm making a shitload of money here. Let me just fall back and keep doing what I'm doing." Or there's a latter, which you did, and were like, the hell with this. I know what value that I bring to this organization, and let me go ahead and pivot and transition.
correct.
Was that an easy decision for you, or was it one that you had to wrestle with?
I wrestled with it for a minute.
Okay.
One thing I always said, T, if you didn't make me, then you can't break me.
Hmm.
Because I was running my own system, I knew I could take my system and pretty much lay it down anywhere with
Yeah.
any insurance company. If the product is a viable product, pricing is decent, the management will allow me to do what I need to do. Oh man, it's on and popping.
Yeah.
So, and that was one of the challenges I had with Senior, is I think they wanted to stop all the business that was coming in. T, I really believe that. I know that sounds crazy,
Right.
but insurance companies have capacity issues. You know that, right? They only can take on so much business.
Hmm.
So the crazy thing about it is, not only did they terminate my contract, but they also terminated a guy named David Price's contract on the same day.
Yeah.
Well, David might have been considered the largest. I might have been considered the second largest, or it might have been the first, vice versa. How do you terminate two of the largest agencies that you have?
Mhm.
I mean, and T, for no reason.
Yeah.
My termination letter said, "We are terminating you for no reason at
That's crazy.
all." That's crazy. And
Yeah.
we put good business there. We had been there 10 years. I mean, I knew the road was a little rocky. I knew that There were certain things that they asked me to do that I refused to do. I knew that certain threats and innuendos and other things like that had been cast out there. But, T, in August, we did right at $2 million in business. That was the largest month I'd ever done, and all in final expense. And then by September, I'm being just harassed. Let's use that word. And then by October 4th, I'm terminated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you from the conversations that we've had, you bounce back. That's a part of your story. That's not the end of your story.
Correct.
So, I'm glad things are going well for you and your agents. What I want to do real quick, you said you were with them for 10 years, but you've been licensed a lot longer. Um,
Correct.
I know you said you had, when we initially met, you had a background in real estate prior to coming into
And mortgages,
in mortgages, right? So
primarily mortgages.
why transition? What caused you to leave that sector and come over here and get into the insurance space?
Sure, sure. So just to give you a little more background, I started my agency in 1996. Started just as an independent agent. Thought I was going to conquer the world, make $1 million by myself. By 1998, I had transitioned into the mortgage business. And then by 2000, I got a real estate license and had a very, very successful career doing mortgages primarily and doing a little bit of real estate. 2008, 2009 happened. And I actually was oblivious to it. Um, I did not see a significant drop in income until 2010. And by 2012, man, I was completely flat out broke. So it wasn't me having some kind of epiphany and God showed me a ram in a burning bush or anything like that. I had to make I had to make some money. I had to make some money. I had to make a lot of money. Okay. And so just by happenstance, T, I had a guy that was with, I don't mind sharing names, Lincoln Heritage, and he kept telling me to take a look, take a look, take a look, take a look. And T, I had no interest. Remember, I was a real estate guy. I did have an insurance license, but I just had no interest.
Right.
And so I finally sat down, talked to the guy, went to a couple of meetings, but I signed up with Lincoln in 2012. I didn't write my first Lincoln case until 17 months later,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
unheard of because they normally terminate you if you don't write a case every 90 days.
Right.
And so I asked my guy, I said, why didn't you terminate me? Or he said, they did. He said, every month they terminate you. And I sent him a letter and tell them, leave you alone. And so in July of 2013, I started there. And then by 2014, end of September, I signed up with Senior. So the transition from the mortgage real estate business was because I had to. I had made a lot of money doing that, and I need to make a lot of money in the final expense business. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I want to get your opinion
Mhm.
on this because I hear this a lot. This is a common theme with black agents.
Mhm.
Kind of stumble into the industry, right? There's not too many second or third generation black agency owners in our industry. My
I agree.
story is very similar to yours. Was in sales, was looking for a more lucrative opportunity. Stumbled into insurance, and here we are. In your opinion, what are some things we can do to kind of change that narrative? What can we do to make this a viable career path that people look to versus just kind of falling into it?
Sure. I think the first thing we can do a better job is introducing this business to our children and our nephews and our nieces. I think what we've been taught is we graduate from high school, we go to college, and we get a job working for somebody else. And then Uncle Joe is an insurance agent, but Uncle Joe has never told anybody about the amount of money that he makes or how lucrative this business can be. I think another thing we need to do from an industry standpoint is we need to be on the college campuses spouting out this career to these young black folks that really don't. I mean, T, let's just keep it real now. In Columbia, South Carolina, and you've got me on a hot topic here. In Columbia, South Carolina, we have several historical black colleges here, and I love them. Benedict College, Allen University, South Carolina State, who just lost to Jackson State the other day. And I don't think we as agency managers, we're not on those college campuses talking to those kids about an opportunity in insurance. I think we can fix that by doing that.
Yeah. And let me give a shout out to Rebecca Ratliff and HBCU Impact. You guys will be hearing a lot more about them. We just partnered with them to your point, Lewis, get on some of these campuses. They're doing a great job introducing the insurance opportunity on HBCU campuses across the
Yep.
country.
And
So
let me say this to you. I would love to piggyback with you guys on that. Love
we
to. I
we
have a
can
4-year degree from Carolina, South Carolina.
got you. Yeah, we're definitely working out some stuff on that because I agree. We got to get them when they're younger, because what happens in this industry, and you know this because we're about to talk about your downline and how many agents you bought on. What we find too often is agents just jumping from IMO to IMO or agency to agency, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I own an agency and I recruit, and I typically stay away from guys that are just hopping from shop to shop because a lot of times they bring bad business, they bring debt and
Bad
different things
habit.
like that. Yeah, a lot of
Bad
bad
habit.
habits, exactly. So I more lean towards bringing people fresh into the industry. That's kind of been our go-to. But with you being an agency owner and having the level of success that you've had, one of the things that really impressed me about you is you had a downline of 4,000 plus agents, right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
very uncommon, right? You
Very.
a lot of agency owners, and this is not a knock on anybody's hustle. They're one or two man shops. A lot of
Right.
agencies are really small. When you look up small businesses on the SBA website, a small business is 500 and below, right?
Right.
So we're not even really capturing that, number when we talk about a lot of our agencies, but you're getting up to 4,000. So you're not even considered, a small business at that point when you got a downline of 4,000 plus agents. That's very impressive, right? I've seen
Right.
some of your things that you do around recruiting on social media. I see you go from city to city. I don't want you to give up your secret sauce,
I won't do
but
that. Promise you.
how did you get one when you started? Was recruiting important to you? And two, when you did start to focus on it, how were you able to grow a downline so big?
Yep. Yep. Recruiting is very important. I cut my teeth at Lincoln Heritage, UBI here in South Carolina. And so when I started there, they were talking about growth and making a bunch of money and doing things like that. And so I had to, I mean, it was kind of funny, T. I would be the number one recruiter at every meeting. But here's what happened, T. Because of my financial situation and how broke I was, I saw an opportunity that I could share with everybody, and just in exuberance thought that we could all get rich. And so I just shared it, man. We'd get up in those meetings and they'll introduce the guests and who invited you. Lewis Burns, Lewis Burns. I mean, every meeting, I'm not bragging, I had the most guests. And because I had the most excitement. And so one part of it, the second part of your question is how do you build such a large downline? I built it with pure excitement. I built it by going out and actually selling the product. One problem we have in this industry is a lot of agents think that they can come in, start recruiting, and not actually know how to sell.
Right.
I don't think people will follow you that intently if you don't know how to sell, if you actually don't know how to sell the product. I just don't think so.
Yeah.
This week's episode is sponsored by UCG Staffing. Scaling an insurance agency can be challenging. Finding qualified talent could make all the difference in your agency's success. This week's sponsor, UCG Recruitment Services, has helped agency owners across the country solve this problem. UCG Staffing delivers cost-effective and efficient recruitment solutions. The UCG model enhances the customer experience by offering a seamless, full-service approach, streamlining all staffing needs under one roof, and their commitment to excellence in every placement ensures the highest quality candidates for your organization. If you are ready to connect with candidates who are ready to work to help contribute to your agency's success, visit ucgstaffing.com to get more information. Make sure to let them know that SOBA sent you to get a discount on services. Now back to this week's episode.
So 4,000 agents
Yep.
across the country.
Yep.
One of
We were in about 29 to 30 states at one time.
So this is the interesting thing is you're still accessible,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
When we met in Atlanta, you were like, "Hey T, here's my cell phone. Hit me up. Let's connect." We've talked several times through text, Facebook.
Yep.
You don't see that too often when people get to a certain level, right?
Correct.
The higher
Correct.
you get, the less accessible you get. Why was it important for you to remain accessible?
T, I remember growing this thing. I remember going up the ladder. The old saying is you got to be very careful going up because if you ever fall back down, you'll see some of those same people. And
Hmm.
so one of the things I never thought I was better than anybody. Okay. I always thought that, um, if I could do it, I don't mind sharing. I have a disfigured eye. I got into a car accident in 2012. Now, keep in mind, I got in this car accident before I even started building this business. So people try to let personal things like, their disfigurement, their missing teeth, their, stuttering, none of that stuff matters. If you're excited, people will follow you. So this is funny. I just had a guy just now that I just recruited from Facebook. And I still recruit personally now. I'm building a tremendous amount of agencies right now, but I'm also personally recruiting. And I love having those conversations too with those guys that are excited.
Yeah.
They're ready to go right now. I like doing that. Okay. And so I'm just going to be here. I mean, it was kind of funny. Somebody called me the other day and they said, "I can't believe you answered the phone." I said, "You called me. Why
Hmm.
wouldn't I answer the phone?"
Hmm.
So, and I know you're right, T. I have reached out to people that should be accessible, and you can never get them to call you back. You can never get them to say. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like an inside joke with me. I can reach out to the CEO of a company, and he'll call me back or he'll talk to me, but his vice president or assistant vice president won't ever return my call.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, I definitely understand that. I think accessibility is really important. And going back to what we said before, I think that's a key in getting people into the industry, right?
absolutely.
Representation matters and access matters, right? They want to hear from successful people. And to your point earlier, unfortunately, sometimes the people that are recruiting don't have the success to really move the needle when it comes to bringing people in the industry, right?
Yep.
You want to
Yep.
follow a successful path. And unfortunately, for us in our industry, a lot of people that have found success are just not accessible. So
Yep.
the people that are out there recruiting a lot of times are not successful at all. And that just kind of turns people away. So I definitely appreciate, with all the success you have going on, remaining accessible and help us to grow the industry. So got a large team, got a lot of success.
Hmm.
We got a lot of agencies, that pop up across the country. Again, some people just want their own agency because they want the overrides or whatever. Um, in your opinion, as an agency owner with a huge downline, what are some things that you need to consistently provide for your agents to be successful?
Sure. Sure. One big thing is training.
Mhm.
We train, we train, we train, T. We have training. We have a 8 a.m. call every morning, sort of a call to get out type of call. We do huge trainings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do a training call the first and third Wednesday. We have a motivational call on Sunday, 5 p.m. way after everybody's out of church. Um, we have a call on Saturday morning. So usually about 7 days a week, we have something going on in our agency.
Wow.
So we have, I believe in leadership. I
Mhm.
believe, I don't believe in um, micromanaging, trying to tell you how to run your agency, all that crap like that. Man, that's a big turnoff for me.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I was talking to a guy today, the guy was recruiting. I said, well, listen, let's get something straight. You don't work for me. Matter of fact, I work more likely I work for you.
Yeah.
I said, it's my job to, lead you, to help you, to motivate you. Now, it's your job to go out and do the work. Don't get it twisted. But, that's my thought process. T. A lot of times, unfortunately, with power, it comes messiness.
Hmm.
I don't like agents trying to tell other agents what to do.
Hmm.
All right. One thing you'll never find with me, T, you'll never find me telling you what to do. You're a grown man. I
Right.
can't tell you what to do. I'm gonna piss you off is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So we have a 90, depending on what statistics you look at or what report you look at, 90 to 95% fail ratio. In,
Absolutely.
right.
Yep.
You've made millions in the
Yep.
industry. You've helped agents make six and
I,
seven
I
figures.
got I got I got one agent that's made 7 figures this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you told me when we met that
Mhm.
they were on pace. So when you look at all that, what you've built, what you've accomplished, what do you contribute your success to?
You know, old cliche of hard work, T, that you can't get around that.
Mhm.
I don't mind telling you, I work really 15, 16, 17 hours a day on the days I want to work. And I'll do that for 6 or 7 days a week. Now, keep in mind now, I've been self employed for 28 years.
Mhm.
So, one of the big fears I've always had in the back of my mind is going to get a job.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you having to go to work every day at a place that you don't like? And
Mhm.
I'm not putting it down by some pimple faced 19-year-old telling you what to do. Bro, I'm going to have a serious problem with that. Okay. So, here's what I tell people, T, and this is important. If you work like you're broke, you'll never be broke. See,
Yeah.
some of these agents will have a great sale, have a great week, and then they're taking off the next day. I don't do that, bro. I
Yeah.
mean, I've gotten as much as $100,000 deposit in one day,
Mhm.
and I'm still bright and early at 4 o'clock in the morning. I hit you up at any time. You know that. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm hitting you up because I act like that money's not even there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important. That's really important because again, with such a high fail rate, you know, allowing people to kind of see that even with you where you are, you still got to put in the work.
Oh yeah,
And
and let me interject something too. Now, I think a lack of mentorship
hmm.
in this business. I think a lack of agents like myself giving mentorships, and I think a lack of agents that need mentorship being able to accept mentorship. And mentorship I always say is not always a pat on the back to you. You're doing such a great job, bro. You're killing it. Sometimes it's giving you an honest opinion that what, if you could just tweak this a little bit over here, it could be your personality, it could be some kind of issue you got going on. I think we don't tell people that. And now let me tell you about that now. A lot of people can't accept that.
Yeah.
I get a lot of messages telling me to leave me alone. You're trying to throw shade. You're trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be any of those things. I'm trying to help you get rich.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to help you do.
Right. Yeah, there's a level of accountability that comes with this. And I found guys that are willing to take correction and are hungry tend to be my best guys. Like when
Absolutely.
I was sharing a story earlier this week with an agent that's going through the licensing process. I failed my test the first time I took it. Right. And I was devastated. I heard about this opportunity, got to hang out in the office, be in a couple of meetings, see the kind of money these guys are making, so I took my 40-hour course, did everything I needed to do, failed the test, failed by 1 point. Was
Wow.
devastated. I was like, I wish you would even told me.
All right.
Just,
There
1 point. Now you're going back and second guessing. I should have picked B and C.
you go.
So what happened is I had to wait 2 more weeks in order to retake my test. It's not like I could
Yep.
have walked in there the next day. So now I got to keep studying because let's be honest, a lot of stuff that we practice for and have to use to pass the exam is not a lot of stuff we use in our
Never.
everyday business,
Not
right?
not 95% we never
Right.
use.
So it's
95%.
not information I wanted to retain, but now I got to wait 2 weeks.
Right.
And instead of now just focusing on the sales materials, the carry, I got to keep taking these practice
Studying.
tests. So,
Yep.
I was devastated. So when I came in, I was already behind. I had a family, I had responsibilities, and we're commission based. So there was no sitting on the clock
Right.
collecting income while I'm waiting to take this test. So then after that, you got to get contracted, you got to get your background, your license has to get approved, blah blah blah. So it's about 30 days here when me
Well,
when
hey, for you now it's 45. Now it's
yeah,
45 days. You
yeah.
had those extra 2 weeks, right?
So when I hit the ground, I was hungry. It's like I got to make up for this last 30 days of me not making the money I thought, and that really kind of motivated me out the gate with my career.
Correct.
I was always hungry, felt like I had to play catch up. And, I found guys that have that hunger. Like, commission is tough, right? You
Yep.
don't kill, you don't eat. That's one of my first mentors told me. You got to get out there and you got to kill something if you want to eat. There is no
There you
plan
go.
B, nothing like that. You got to get out there and work. So I've always had that mindset. So it's interesting when I see people come in today and think, you can make six figures working 2 days a week because you saw some guy on social media posing in front of a Lambo saying best opportunity in the world. I agree. It's a multi-trillion dollar industry, but you still got to put in the work.
Right.
You
And
got
then
to,
T, let me say this, that guy in front of that Lambo is probably lying.
100%. Most times they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, let's see his 1099s.
They're making money selling you a course or,
There you
some
go.
type of program or whatever. So, when we talk about this again, people that are hungry, and have an entrepreneur mindset, they don't have to have someone micromanage them, which is your management style. For you personally, where did that entrepreneurial business mindset come from? Is that something that is, ingrained in your family? Is this something you gravitated to when you got into sales?
It's a little bit of both. My grandmother, God rest her soul, started her business in the 40s, and she was a cosmetologist. And so I remember going down to her shop. She was a proud lady, T, proud Miss Wilhelmina G. Burns. And just, I mean, that my grandfather on my other side, he was always an entrepreneur. Well, I'm gonna call him, he was a hustler. And let me just tell your audience, guys, this is a hustle.
Mhm.
Hustle don't mean a bad thing.
Right.
Hustle sometimes a good thing. Hustle means you got to get out here and work your butt off. Is what hustle means. Okay, nothing's gonna be handed to you. T, I didn't come up with this saying, but sales is the easiest thing if you work hard at it.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing if you work easy at it. I didn't come up with that, but it was something that my father is a steel worker today. Now he owns the company now, but when I was growing up, he was an employee. He didn't start his own company until like 2001, and by that time, I'd already been self-employed for a number of years. But I saw my father get up every morning at 5 a.m. to leave the house at 6 a.m. and to be at work by 7 a.m. and not get home until 6 p.m. I saw that for 23 consecutive years. He worked at the same company from the time he was 17 until he was in his 50s. Okay. And so I learned hard work from there. And I'll tell you this, I learned more about hard work from watching my daddy work. He would work Monday through Saturday every week. I've learned more from hard work than entrepreneurship. Let me share this with you. I believe I believe hard work supersedes entrepreneurship. I believe that. And my daddy has a sixth grade. He dropped out in the sixth grade to take care of his siblings. My daddy couldn't read that well when we were growing up. He would struggle. He went back to school, and I actually had to tutor him. Like, when I was in the seventh or eighth grade, I was tutoring him. So, I would say I would take hard work. And I'm like you, T. I call these folks, and they call these folks neophytes. I'd rather take a neophyte over a licensed agent. I'd rather take a blue collar person that gets up every morning and has to be to work 4, 5, 6 days a week over some cat that graduated from college and now he thinks he's supposed to make $6 million, the first day that he gets out of school.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I want to talk real quick about ownership. Right. We've had this conversation offline a little bit, and you had a situation with the last carrier you're with. You got a new situation now that is definitely an upgrade from where you were.
Right.
But truth be told, we don't have any operational Black carriers in the marketplace right now. We know there's some things going on with Atlanta Life and
Right.
Magic.
Magic Johnson. Yeah.
They're still working some stuff out on what that may look like. I believe 2025 there'll be some announcements made. We have a limited amount of Black IMOs out there, and we have some Black agency owners. But when it comes to ownership, do you see, without any operationally Black carriers on the marketplace, a pathway for ownership for Black agents and agency owners? And do you feel like that's important?
I'm very pessimistic about us being able to start insurance companies and own insurance companies. I'm very pessimistic about that. See, the financial amount of money. It's funny you brought this up because you and I haven't discussed this part. But I told a guy today, I said, I believe in my humble opinion, you're going to need he wants to start an insurance company, Black guy. I said, you're going to need about $30 million. Okay. And, these insurance commissioners don't want us to borrow the money. Okay. Right. They want it to be liquid. Okay. And not obligated to somebody else. Okay. The other issue you get into as well, T, is that I'm going to say, in my humble opinion, I would say all 50, including, well, maybe, I don't know, Washington, D.C., but all 50 states, I believe the insurance commissioners are white.
Mhm.
I don't know of any. Do you know of any? I know you travel all over the country. Do you know of any state insurance commissioners, Black?
So Raphael Baker is a member of SO who ran for commissioner here in Georgia last election cycle. I believe at the time that he ran, and he'll have to check me on this because I don't remember off top, I believe he said there was 2 Black insurance commissioners total
In the country.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so two out of 50, 2 out of 51. Let's say DC has. Let's say we count DC. Okay. So the challenge we have, T, is this: we have no operational Black companies in business. Atlanta Life, North Carolina Mutual, Golden something out of California at one time. So you and I are sitting our Black butt in front of that white commissioner, asking them for permission to sell in their state. You don't think they know that there are no other Blacks?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Dr. Burns.
Yeah.
So what do you think changed? Because you just mentioned some organizations that were powerhouses back in the day.
Right.
North
Yep.
Carolina
Not
Mutual,
Mutual.
Life,
Atlanta Life is huge.
company. So there's many of them, and we've talked about this within our organization a lot. That these weren't just agency owners; these were people that had impact on community. We know the story of Alonzo Herndon, who ran Atlanta Life. Not He wasn't only in the insurance business; he was in the community. He had
exactly a barbershop and some other stuff. Yeah, real estate.
Hotel right here in Atlanta that was listed in the Green Book. So when Blacks traveled the South, they knew if you stop in Atlanta, this is a place you could stay because you had to avoid sundown towns and all that. So these were agencies that had a huge impact. I mean, we I think say it so much that it really doesn't have an impact. This man was born a slave, died a millionaire.
There you go.
Stories like A.G. Gaston. All these were giants in the industry at a time, in my opinion, where it seemed like it would be more challenging as a Black person to own and operate an insurance agency, or a business or carrier.
Or an insurance company, insurance carrier.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So what do you think has changed to the point where, in a point where we had visible resistance to now not being able to get back into a space where we have some.
Oh, I got a simple answer for you. You ready?
Sure.
Desegregation.
Okay. Okay.
Desegregation.
Break
I
that.
believe that has been the biggest problem we've had in black businesses. I believe that once that black consumer no longer had to do business with a black business, I believe that ruined black businesses.
Mm.
And unfortunately, T, if we can be frank, now this is a mostly black group, correct?
It's all black group.
Okay, I want to make sure now. Okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
hey, as you said, the last podcast I had a white guy and a Mexican guy. Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
so let's just be real with each other. When a lot of times, and I've been in black business for 28 years, 28 and a half years, if we give our folks an opportunity to do business with white folks over black folks, unfortunately, a lot of folks take that opportunity, bro.
Hmm.
Unfortunately. And they think that white man is not, that black man is beneath them. He's going to, screw them over, whatever it might be. And that's so far from the truth. So I think desegregation happened. I think that, let me say this to you. I know with the North Carolina Mutual and Atlanta Life, mismanagement. Mismanagement. Unfortunately, a lot of times with these businesses, they started off as family-owned businesses, North Carolina Mutual and Atlanta Life. And I don't think they brought in the expertise to get them to the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. I don't think they brought it in. They brought cousin Joe in to be the CEO. They brought a son in that was not qualified to run a multi-million-dollar company. And they did exactly what someone not qualified will do and ran it into the ground on both situations. I've looked at both situations and read up on them. Those companies were ran into the ground as well.
Yeah. I think part of the issue is what you mentioned earlier, the resistance, right? When you're in a look at it now, we're in 2024, about to go to 2025.
Correct.
Market penetration in this industry for us is still only about 8%. We only represent about 8% of the industry. So, you're speaking about, some potential roadblocks when it comes to the Department of Insurance and, other
Capital,
barriers.
capital,
Say
capital is
again?
huge.
Yeah,
Capital.
yeah, yeah. You talked about capacity before. For those of you who don't know, companies have to have a certain amount of reserves in reflection to how many policies they have in play, right?
Correct.
At least 2 to 3 times what you have in actual enforced policies. So, you know, I guess what I want to do is, we talked about what hurdles we did face, right? We've
Right.
seen, a resurgence in buy black here over the last few years, right? More than
Correct.
a few years, right? People are
Yep.
are conscious. They're wanting to, you know, extend the black dollar,
Yep.
right? Unfortunately, sometimes we don't have things in place for us to spend our black dollar. Again, in insurance, which is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, we don't have any place to put our black dollar. So I don't want to end this part of the conversation with on what we can't do because we know we're a resilient people, right?
Absolutely. We're the most resilient group of people ever in the history of the world. Most
Agreed.
resilient. Yep.
No, no,
Let me say this to you. Our Jewish buddies cannot compare to what we have gone through as a people. They like to compare the Jewish people. Nothing wrong with this, T. They're trying to take the gay folks and what they're going through, and I know they go through a lot. But from a people standpoint, nobody has been ostracized, criticized, beaten, killed more than black folks.
so point taken, 100%
Yep.
agree.
Yep.
So circling back around to ownership, we know
Yep.
what the hurdles are. But here you are, a black man from the South
Columbia,
that
South Carolina, baby.
built a very successful agency, a very successful career in this industry, made millions of dollars, recruited thousands of agents, right?
Correct.
So I want to kind of end this part of the conversation on what are some things that we can do
Yep.
to move. We may not be there now,
Right.
right? We may not have what we had 40, 50 years ago, what are some things that you think we can do to make sure we're at least moving in the right direction, if that makes sense?
And it does. And I believe that we can. Now, this young guy I was telling you about, he'll probably watch this. I'm going to encourage him to watch this. He really is serious about owning an insurance company. He's 38 years old. Gee, I love that age.
Mhm.
I'm almost 20 years older than he is. One of the things we have to do, T, is that we have to do more collaboration
That's
than
it.
competing. Yep.
Mhm.
You and I could have said, you know what, T, you got your own thing, I got my own thing, you keep your own thing, I'll keep my own thing. And unfortunately, our Caucasian brothers love that. They love to make us compete against each other. We're running around like our heads are cut off, like chickens, okay? So I think collaboration. I told a young man this morning, I said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll start a fund with you and contribute $5,000. Just don't rip me off. And we can start a fund to start an insurance company. Gee, think about it for a second. I mean, I don't know how many black insurance agents out there, but what if we came together? And this is not my purpose of this call. You know that. We didn't even discuss this. But what if we came together collectively and put our monies together and either purchase or start an insurance company? What if we all took $5,000? See, do me a favor. Do you have a calculator anywhere nearby, even on your
Yeah.
phone?
Yep.
I
Mhm.
should be able to do this in my head. Take 30 million and divide it by 5,000. I could probably do that in my head. Is that 600,000? Is that I should be able to do it in my head because you kill the zeros.
Being divided by what?
Take 30 million and divide it by 5,000.
6,000.
Yep. So T, if 6,000 of us came together and put in $5,000 into a fund, we can start an insurance company.
Yeah.
Think about that. That sounds more doable than anything. And
Well,
we
it
can find the
goes
right
back.
people to run it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it goes back to what you said. It takes a level of collaboration, right?
Exactly.
And more importantly, it takes a level of trust,
There you
right?
go.
That's why, one of the reasons that we created SOBA, Society of Black Agents, and we don't recruit, we don't sell, is we wanted to create a safe space for Black agents just to be,
There you
right?
go.
The first half of my career was spent in rooms full of people that didn't look like me, right? So there's something empowering about being connected with people that understand you, that look like you, that speak like you. Like my family don't, for the most part, care about insurance. And that's not a negative thing. I don't come
Oh,
home and talk to my family about what went on in insurance. Today I sold this
correct.
policy, today I did this, whatever. We don't have community a lot of time. And this is for different all career paths. So don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. If you know
Yeah.
you, if you're a cop
Attorneys.
home,
Yeah.
yeah,
Doctors.
your
Yeah.
family typically don't want to have those conversations. But it's even more challenging when you're a minority in an industry. Again, 8% is around what we make. So one of
Wow.
the first things we wanted to do is say, let's at least have a community where we can share experiences, right? Where we can
Correct.
talk to people that understand selling to our community is different from selling to other communities.
Absolutely.
Less transactional, more relational, right? That woman, you're in the final expense business. That woman you sell a $40 policy to, she gonna act like you just took $1 million from her and on you every time she wants to check up on that little 40. And we're okay with that. But at the
We
same
have to, and
time,
unfortunately, we have to be. We have to be. You're right. We have to
at the
be.
same time, she's gonna invite you to Sunday dinner. She's
Yep.
gonna invite you to church. She's
Yep.
gonna tell all her friends about you. It's not transactional, it's more relational,
I
right?
agree. Yep.
I have clients, I don't do a lot of final expense, or I used to do a lot of Medicare back in the day. To this day, I still have some of those clients, some of those mothers that just call me and check up on me.
Yep.
How how the kids doing? What you doing for the holidays? So and so. There's so. I mean, it's like I got some aunties and some mamas and some grandmothers that some of them got $20, $30 policies,
Yep.
right? And if I
Yep.
would have went on there in a transitional mindset, I'd be like, I'm not accessible.
Right.
You
And
got
then that'd be a fatal error.
$1
That'd be a fatal error in your
100%.
business.
100%. I've grown some of my business, my best referrals from those people, people in
Yep.
church, kids, grandkids, all that. So, You're right. So going back to what we were saying before, the money, I don't think the money is an issue. It's the ability to collaborate and trust. And
Yep.
that's why, what we're doing in communities like yours, what you're building, we're establishing those. Like
Yep.
you can trust us. If you go
Yep.
work with Dr. Burns, he's going to put you on the path to 6 to 7 figures,
Yep.
without taking advantage of you. If you come over here to sober, they're going to train you and help you, connect with other agents to find success. So we need to see more of this in order to get to that, in my opinion.
I
So
agree.
what I want to do, we're getting close to wrapping.
Right.
Talked about this a minute ago. You spend a lot of you focus um, your agents on the final expense market, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
real quick, with so many opportunities, whole life term, annuities, IULs,
Medicare.
why did you feel like final expense is where you wanted to kind of plant your flag?
Well, two reasons, two or three reasons why. The first thing is a simple product. And when you're selling something, to me, in my humble opinion, I want it to be as simple as possible because I believe that if it's simple, then the average agent can sell it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing Medicare, which I have to know all these different rules and do AHIP, I'm not being critical now. T, make sure you understand, I'm not being critical. You asked me why I did it.
Yeah.
I've never sold a Medicare policy in my life. I've sold one annuity in my life. I've never sold a IUL in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, being licensed for 33 years. So the final expense product is a simple product, simple to the client, simple to the agent. And then, T, I had the honor and privilege to work with Dr. Wilson over at UBI. And he said, Lewis, if I could tell you anything, do one thing and one thing only. He said, final expense. And this is when I was just getting into the business. I was transitioning, or I transitioned from the mortgage real estate business into insurance.
Yeah.
And he said, and I said, why? I got this license. I got a health license. I got a life license. He said, it's the only business that continues to pay you. He said he's done Medicare, he's done payroll deduction, he's done IULs, ULs back in the day. He said it's the only business that continues to pay you. And so I was just dumb enough to listen to him. I was just dumb enough. Sometimes you got to be dumb enough just to listen to somebody. So that's
Yeah.
what I did.
Makes sense.
Yep,
So it worked for you.
it did.
It worked for you. So going into 2025, right?
Yep,
We've seen some changes in the industry. There was a shakeup in Medicare this past year around commissions. PNC is taking a hit with carriers pulling out of coastal areas,
yep.
restricting claims. Some of
Final,
the
final expense companies going out of business. Final expense companies are going out of business.
yeah. So talk to me about what you see that segment of the industry, final expense, market looking like in 2025. Do you think it's gonna, continue to grow? You're gonna have some hiccups. What does that look like going into 2025?
I think it's going to be robust. See, what I saw my business more than double from 2019 to 2020 because of COVID. It
Mm-hmm.
more than doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we've had some tremendous growth. I mean, we're talking about 20, 30, 40% increase in sales every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We had one drop back year, like 22, and then 23, 24. I mean, I'm not bragging. We did almost $14 million in 23. And even with the hiccup that we did $16 million, $17 million in 24. And so I expect for for the final expense business to grow at least by 25% plus next year. Reason for that, T, is that these insurance companies, Lincoln Heritage is supposed to be the largest final expense company, based just off final expense only. I don't believe that, but that's what they say. Do you know they have less than 2% of the market share?
Wow.
Yep, less than 2%. And so, my feeling is that it's going to give us an opportunity to really, really grow and grow and grow. My goal next year, as I transition over, It's not going to be as much as what I did this year. We had a machine over at that company. It was a machine. It was a machine I built, and some people stayed back for whatever reason. I think they made a mistake. If they're listening, I think they made a mistake. I saw some financials that scared me as well, T, at the same time. And we both know, you and I have been in this game for a long time. If you don't have any money, you understand you can't be in the insurance business, correct? As an
Right.
insurance company,
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
you can't do that. You got to pay commissions, you got to pay claims. So I believe that final expense has a shelf life. I believe next 100 years. I don't know we'll have this tremendous growth just because of the baby boomers, because of the generational. I'm a generational X myself. I just think that, and then T. Here's the other thing we got too: a lack of competition.
Okay.
I've read, statistically speaking, there's less insurance agents today than there was in 1960. What has the population done? And you and I can talk about this. We do have a lack of people, new agents coming into this industry. It's horrible. But let me say this to you though, it's also a benefit to us.
Hmm.
I tell people I'm glad this thing is not easy because if
Right.
it was easy, everybody would be doing it and it wouldn't be as much money. I wouldn't make as much money if it was easy.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a low barrier to entry. You got to get licensed. You can't
Right.
have, certain things in your background. So that does kind of, um,
And a
eliminate.
lack of, I think a lack of people going to college now, T, and they want that white collar job. I get people that tell me selling insurance is beneath me.
Interesting.
Yep,
Okay.
I make millions of dollars, and they said this is beneath them. I don't mind sharing. I had a white guy ask me one time. He says, "Well, why won't white people sell final expense?" I'm looking at him, T, and he wasn't selling final expense. I said,
Hmm.
"You tell me.
Hmm.
I'm not white."
Hmm.
He said it's beneath us.
He said that selling final expense was beneath him as a
White
white.
people. Yep.
Interesting.
Came out of his mouth. I was facing him face to face. It wasn't like we were on the phone or Zoom calls or something. He told me that to my face.
The conversations we have, huh?
Yep. Always interesting.
Yeah,
Always interesting.
always, always. So, hey, Dr. Burns, we're coming up on wrap here. What I want to do in closing is just give you, the floor to kind of speak to our audience, on how to really go into 2025 with purpose and clarity. I was talking to a client and a couple of agents here earlier today, and they were just talking about how challenging 2024 was for them. Some on the financial tip, and others just, emotionally losing people and, all kinds of stuff going on. And they're really looking forward to 2025. But when I asked them, well, we can only control what we control. So what is your plans for 2025 to make it a better year? And there was no plan. It's just 2025 is going to be better. So, I mean, yeah, maybe the odds
Right.
will be that it's going
Right.
to be a better year. I mean, we got a very contentious election we just went through. We're going to have a new president. We don't know what the markets are going to do. Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty, right? We can only
Correct.
control what we can control. But, speak to our audience about some things that you would recommend they do to make sure they go into 2025 and have a successful year.
Sure. One big thing I would tell you, T, is get more focus. Get more focus on your business. Get more focus on your success. Get more focus on your clients. And T, work harder. You got to work harder. I have people say, I'm trying. I say, try harder. Nobody wants to hear, oh, I called on 5 people and nobody bought. Well, it sounds like you should have called on 7 or 8.
Right.
You got to do what it takes by any, like Brother Malcolm X said, by any means
That's it.
necessary.
Yeah.
If you have a family, if you have bills, your bill collectors don't care about COVID, Dovid, Hovid, or Movid. They want their money or they'll come start picking up things. Okay. And so I would encourage people to get focused, work harder, get a mentor. We run around here with our heads cut off, and these insurance companies love us for doing that. We won't collaborate. We're sitting there and we've made a little bit of money doing something, and we don't want to share it with nobody, okay? Because we made a little bit of money. Guys, there's so much money. Like T said, there's trillions of dollars in this industry, and these little pennies that they're paying us, and they're laughing at us. Seriously. You have people, T, that old story about sitting on the nail and the dog is whining on the porch. And it doesn't hurt bad enough for them to make a change. See, sometimes you got to make a change. I don't mind sharing people with this. I walked away from $2.2 million. Now, here's what I've had people tell me, T. They said in the history of America, no black man has walked away from 2.2 million. I said, that's probably incorrect. Barry Sanders walked away from a bunch of money. But T, when you know your value and you know what you bring to the marketplace, how about put a zero behind that?
Right.
How about put a zero? Let's talk about $22 million here instead of 2.2.
Right.
So I think knowing your worth. Now, here's the other thing too, T. Don't overvalue your worth. How many times have you been approached by somebody that says, well, what kind of signing on bonus are you? New agent, ain't never been licensed, or just ain't never made a sale, want to know what kind of signing on bonus they're going to get. You're going to show them the door is what you're going to show them.
Most likely,
So, yeah, don't overvalue your worth. Value your worth, but don't overvalue your worth. T, last thing I'll say to you is I tell people, and this is important, is don't try to negotiate contract, negotiate cash flow. T, I got agents that are on 120s, 140s. I had one agent, he signed up for 165 and he made zero because he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these high contracts, guys, you are just negotiated yourself out of any help.
Yeah.
He ain't working for a nickel.
Right.
And I'm not working for a dollar.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the things I would do. T, last thing. I told a person this morning, and they're not even in the insurance business. I said, don't give up on 2024 yet. There's 15 days as of today, 15 days left in the month, including Christmas. In order for you to have a successful 2025, you must end with a successful 2024 is what I believe.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree with that. Thank you. Great info. And that last point you made, I agree, because that's the same thing. Control what you can control and take advantage of at least getting your mind right for these last few days that we have of the
Yep.
year. Deal with
Yep.
what you got to deal with so you can go in with clarity, direction, and focus in 2025. Dr. Burns, thank you so much. I'm glad we were able to finally get this done.
Yes, sir.
We talked one week, you were in New York, the next week you were in California, then I was
Yep.
in Houston, then I was in DC. And
Yep.
look, we running out of the year. We only got
We got to get it done. That's right.
we got to get it done. So I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you've done for Black agents. I appreciate what you've done in the space in this industry, what you're doing for community, culture, and industry. That's what we talk about. That's what we like to focus on. So thank you. And hey, guys,
Thank you.
we're going to end the podcast like we always do. One of my favorite African proverbs. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We choose to go together. Have a good one, and we will see you all on the next podcast.